Good morning and welcome to Beacon Unitarian Universalist Congregation. I am Scott Schnipper. My pronouns are he, him. If you are joining us online today, I would welcome you to introduce yourself in the chat. My words are coming to you from our sanctuary at 4 Waldron Avenue in Summit, New Jersey on the lands of the Lenni Lenape. If this is your first time visiting with us in person, please join us immediately following the service for a brief tour on the vitals here of Beacon, like where the bathroom is and how to find coffee hour held after each service in Fellowship Hall. Allison will lead our tour today. All visitors and newcomers are also welcome to join us at 12:30, either virtually or here in person up in our library for a connecting session, a 1-hour opportunity to learn more about Beacon and how you can connect here. As we begin our service, please join in reading the covenant with me. Love guides this congregation. Love calls us daily to acts of liberation grounded in anti-racism. We affirm that we live in the complexity of intersectionality and that building healthy and loving relationships is a spiritual practice, requiring both inward and outward focus. Thus, we covenant to listen deeply, speak compassionately, express gratitude, and embrace our unique diversity. We endeavor to communicate honestly and with compassion, particularly when we are in conflict. When we hurt one another, we will try to make amends, forgive, and reconnect with an intent to repair, change, and grow. Our purpose is to be radically inclusive, feed the human spirit, and heal the world. In celebration of the common purpose that unites us and with the aspiration of beloved community before us, we will do our best to abide by this covenant.
Our opening hymn is 1040, Hush. So that's in your teal hymnal, 1040, and we will sing the first 3 verses. If you would like to stand in body or spirit, please do, and join me in singing. Hush, hush, somebody's calling my name. Hush, hush, somebody's calling my name. Hush, hush, somebody's calling my name. Oh my Lord, what shall I do? What shall I do? Sounds like freedom, sounds like freedom. Somebody's calling my name. Sounds like freedom. Somebody's calling my name. Sounds like freedom. Somebody's calling my name. Oh my Lord, what shall I do? What shall I do? Because it sounds like justice. Sounds like justice. Somebody's calling my name. Sounds like justice. Somebody's calling my name. Sounds like justice. Somebody's calling my name. Oh my Lord, what shall
Good morning. My name is Komal. Today, we light our chalice and another flame known as a diya in honor of Diwali, the Hindu festival of lights, which will be celebrated tomorrow, October 24th. As Unitarian Universalists, we honor the religions of the world and the wisdom we are offered. Today, may the flames of our chalice and our diya lead us from ignorance to wisdom, from isolation to interdependence, from bondage to liberation. May the gifts of the generations be present for us all. May Goddess Lakshmi, holder of prosperity, goodwill, and generosity, be present in our homes this year.
Thank you, Komal and Mahamaya, for lighting our chalice and our diya this day. Invite forward Kit Stinson, who is our chaplain for today.
Your mic. Welcome, everyone, on this beautiful, overcast autumn day in New Jersey. I hope you are finding beauty wherever you are, overcast or not. My name is Kit Stinson. I'm one of the chaplains here at Beacon. The chaplain's role is to extend the spiritual care of our community and to our community. And one ritual of spiritual care is our community candle lighting. Together, we light candles of joy, sorrow, and gratitude. And because we know we live in a world that extends far beyond number 4 Waldron Avenue, we always take care to hold in our hearts all those who live and struggle and rejoice well beyond our small community, everyone who shares this planet with us. But today, as we celebrate milestone membership anniversaries, we shine the light of these candles on our own congregation. We light a candle of joy for perhaps the newest member of the Beacon community. On October 19th, Hannah and Michael Herganon and brand new big sister Natalie welcomed Audrey Donna Herganon, born at 2:53 in the afternoon, 7 pounds, 9 ounces, 19 inches long. Congratulations and welcome to Audrey. We light a candle of sorrow this day for the members of our congregation who struggle with illness, with worry, and with heaviness in their hearts. And together we recommit to support them and uphold them. And we light a candle of gratitude for the glorious music that fills our sanctuary and for everyone who brings it to us. And gratitude for Beacon itself, past, present, and future, and all of the milestone membership anniversaries to come. For all this and so much more, I invite you now to come forward and light a candle here in our sanctuary or wherever you are.
Each Sunday when I come into Beacon, I try to get into the sanctuary a little bit early, and not just to change the batteries in the mics, but to take a moment and think about the stories that are woven into these walls, the songs that rest in these floorboards. The tough decisions across the years poured over, perhaps while members of the board tapped their feet on these floorboards. The ways in which the sanctuary has held great sorrow and welcomed new life, as Kit did this very day. Today we honor the living legacy, those who have committed to Beacon. And in a moment, we're going to read the names of those who have been members here for 31 years and more. The year that the individual joined the congregation will appear on the screen behind me. And I invite all of you to take a look at our membership books after the service today. It includes the very first book, 1908, with the bylaws handwritten, and the first line of signatures. We also have gifts for everyone who has been a member 31 years and more. We have cards for you and an invitation to a brunch. There'll be a special celebration with a blessing and poem written just for you. That will take place on February 5th. I would ask, as Scott and I read the names, I know you'll want to applaud, especially as we see each and every year that I was applauding alone in my office the last couple of weeks looking through the membership books. But if you could hold your applause to the end, that would be appreciated. Marilyn Faltz.
Erna Hoover.
John and Janet Ford.
Warren Story.
Norman, or to his friends, Norm Miller.
Gail Moiseau.
Pat Vogler.
Janice and Adrian Hartman.
Marianne and Ulf Dalling.
Jim and Carolyn Johnson.
Rebecca, or Becky Sinden.
Sandra Blackwood.
Vic and Gretchen Rosenberg.
Kathy Menendez.
Kit Stinson.
Sue Edmondson.
Barbara and Don Goldberg.
Ted and Judy Brewer.
Jim Galbraith.
Keith Neer and Leslie Culmer Neer.
R.P. Marosh.
David Miller and Julia Curry Miller.
Dietrich Diekey.
Carol Haig.
Jeannie Siegel.
Dorothy G. Hennings.
Bob and Sharon Slama.
Beverly Aubrey.
Nancy and Bill Griffith.
Mark Benson and Rose Morba.
And Joyce and Tom Andraz. We recognize those now who are celebrating 30 years. And if you're quick on the math, that means they joined Beacon in 1992. And if you're horrified that 30 years ago was 1992, I join you. Lorraine Franz, Jeff Grobe, Ron Roboto, Helen Kerr, and Carl Marks. This way I can hear them.
I breathe in, I'll breathe in peace. When I breathe out, I'll breathe out love. When I breathe in, I'll breathe in peace. When I breathe out, I'll breathe out love. When I breathe in, I'll breathe in peace. When I breathe out, I'll breathe out love. When I breathe in, I'll breathe in peace. When I breathe out, I'll breathe out love. It is so nice to have the Beacon Choir back here singing. Thank you all. We're going to now sing a song which you have sung as a hymn, but today the choir has it to present a slightly different version of Spirit of Life by Carolyn McDade. And then after that, we will be singing Side by Side by the composer Leah Morris. Spirit of love,
The choir is back. Yay! Choir is back. The choir is back. That's all the singing I'm going to do, Misa. That's where it ends. Oh, beloved, we now recognize those who are honoring 25 years of their membership, 10 years, 5 years, and then first year anniversaries. Recognizing the 25th anniversaries, Mike Millspaugh.
Katie Engelmeyer Corrigan.
And celebrating their 10th, Ryan and Anne Marie Hinrichs.
And celebrating their 5-year anniversaries, Wendy Hall.
Elizabeth Cable.
Laura Kramer and Deb Marquette.
Heather Stober.
Cassie DeVita.
Kristen Peck.
Lauren Samus.
Allison Murphy and Tim Katz.
Joao Nolu.
Diana Kaiser.
Suzanne Wagner.
Paul Morgan and Julia Gentile.
John Laney.
Doug and Gib Freeman.
Evan Beach.
Heather and Adam Stein.
Daniela Giuseppe.
And celebrating their first year, and I'm going to add a name because she signed, well, she couldn't sign. We were in the first early days of the pandemic. The first name I'd like to recognize is actually a member who lives in Canada, but is here with us today. And if willing, I would invite all of our first years to raise a hand or even rise as you're able. Sasha Torres.
Mary Early Zald.
Kathy Carliner. And not appearing on the screen only because she signed the book on the 31st of March, virtually, 2020, Tanya Saluga, who co-leads our membership team. Tanya.
Hello, Beacon. I'm Helen Kerr, and I answer to she. And I'm a member of the team that chose the architect for the Red Cross property that we purchased recently. I'm here this morning to share a vision for Beacon. And it's deja vu. More than 20 years ago, I was part of another team that chose another architect for the renovation and addition to this building. At the time, it was the most ambitious and the most expensive project since the founders built it. And I'm so overwhelmed and attached to this place that during construction, I threw myself into it without any reservation, and it almost became a full-time job. You see, from the moment I set foot in here, this place moved me. And it wasn't only the words from the pulpit. Just as a fine instrument makes music better, I cannot separate the words I heard from the warmth, the beauty, the intimacy of this sanctuary, this place steeped for more than a century in its members' free search for truth and meaning. So more than 20 years ago, we had 3 plans to choose from, and I stood right here and promoted my least favorite plan to the congregation. Why? Because after 40 years of debating about what to do about our facilities, it was the most feasible. To afford it, we had to sell a much larger property up the street, and that meant that we could not grow. And at the time, I had to reconcile myself to it. I convinced myself that this was a good model for the 21st century, which in fact, it is. We have to wrest ourselves from a destructive myth of progress that sows dissatisfaction with everything that we already have. Appreciating and taking care of what we already have is one of the most sustainable things that we can do. On the other hand, there are others who have said that this building no longer expresses who we are. And it comes out of a sturdy Protestant tradition that sends a misleading message about us into the world. And there's some truth to that. And despite the limits of this place, we just keep growing. Like the old woman who lived with so many children in a shoe. The shoe no longer fits. So, how do we resolve this paradox? Paradox, it's come to be one of my favorite words. I love it, and I love it because it sets limits. And limits spur creativity. They can open a vista between either or, between holding on and letting go. Like those who came before us, we can find satisfaction and even inspiration somewhere between everything possible to imagine and everything really possible. As the song we heard says, roots hold me close, wings set me free. This is the point in the service when I ask you for money. And so if you would like to contribute something to the works and the roots and the wings of this congregation, we will gratefully receive your offering now.
I invite you to stand, embody your spirit, and join in singing hymn 1010, which is We Give Thanks. Oh, we give thanks for this precious day, for all gathered here and those far away, for this time we share with love and care. Oh, we give thanks for this precious day. Oh, we give thanks for this precious day, for all gathered here and those far away, for this time we share with love and care. Oh, we give thanks for this precious day.
It's good to hear all of us singing. Thank you so much, John. Thank you, Misa. I want to give a special thanks to Misa Iwama, Director of Music Ministry. Misa is often singing up top in the balcony. And for a moment, before you leave the sanctuary, Misa, just to make you a bit more uncomfortable with all the attention, I do want to say thank you, certainly for today, for having the choir back here in the sanctuary at Fort Waldron singing, but also all of your music ministry over the last 2+ years and the ways in which you kept us singing, whether it was over Zoom or live stream or outside, no matter the temperature, you kept us singing, and for that we are very, very grateful. Well, beloved, today's sermon is entitled, What's Your You Got to Do with Me? Now, some of you may pick up that it's a little bit of an homage to a song that came out 30 years ago exactly. And so in the spirit of anniversaries, I thought it was a good time to make that homage. Anyone have a clue what song I might be referencing? Claudia Cohen. No, but a good guess, I see some like tentativeness because I see some people who recognize it, but you're not sure if you're right. It is indeed, beloved, Positive K's I Got a Man. Wisdom comes from many sources. And in that song, 30 years ago, Positive K had a rap exchange with the up-and-coming female rapper at the time, MC Lyte, who responded to Positive K, it's in the title, friends, I got a man. Very good. And Positive K responded, what's your man got to do with me? You'll see how this connects, I promise. For a long time, Unitarian Universalism perhaps is the inheritors of heresy and religious persecution, or perhaps because in the United States, the Unitarians held quite a bit of power for a long time. Or maybe it's just our propensity toward introversion. We had a similar policy on religion. I got a religion. What's your religion got to do with me? There was a standoffish, anti-evangelical trend that persists today in Unitarian Universalism. As the old joke goes, what does an evangelical UU do? Knocks on your door and asks you why they're there. But all jokes aside, many of you now celebrating anniversaries tell me how you wish you had known about Unitarian Universalism a decade or two or more sooner. I ponder occasionally, as is my profession, the future of this faith. Having dedicated now more than half of my life to it, I joined at 15. Sometimes on a Monday, or even early on a Sunday, if I make it in before Dr. Tooley, I will come into this sanctuary, just as the light is filtering through the windows and all is still and quiet, and I will sit in one of those chairs. And I will do what any sane person does. I talk to the floorboards. I figure these boards have seen a rough day or two. Long before they were even here, they stood tall as trees, cut down to serve an unknown purpose that was, at the onset, if we are honest, a shaky project, to say the least. This congregation in those early days at the turn of the 20th century couldn't decide whether or not to form a Unitarian congregation in Summit. And finally, one among them rose with a motion to not start a Unitarian congregation in Summit. And when that motion failed, we formed. In one of my favorite readings, the Unitarian Universalist minister, Reverend Jane Jebka, talks about her perusal and adoration of congregational minutes. She notes that in the span of 2 to 3 years, she was able to read all of the congregational minutes of one of the congregations she served that had been in existence for over 100 years. And she notes something remarkable across all of those minutes, all of those congregational meetings, all of those board meetings, that it seems the congregation only encountered 2 dilemmas. Once, when the pianist was injured in an electrical incident. Hi, John. You're good, right? Okay. And the second, when the bolts in the pews became loose. So loosened, in fact, that as individuals began to relax during the sermon, a pew tipped over. The board promptly formed a pew stabilization committee. Of course, Reverend Jebka notes, we know that communities face far harder challenges than tipping pews that aren't noted in the minutes. In the ensuing years of Beacon's formation, one of the earliest ministers here, Reverend Doan, would declare himself a pacifist, which was not a particularly popular stance at the time. In fact, the FBI came in to investigate, and that congregation, that early congregation, had to decide what to do. Reverend Doan offered his letter of resignation, not wanting to bring scandal upon the newly formed Unitarian congregation in Summit. And the board pondered and then politely declined. They issued their own letter, a letter of public support for Reverend Doan, noting that while the majority of the congregation did not agree with his views, they nonetheless defended his right to hold them. It was an early test of our legacy as religious heretics and our emphasis on freedom of belief. Then there was the winter, a cold one, where we had to decide between paying the heat to have a warm sanctuary during services or paying to bring the radical liberal religious educator Sophia Lyon-Faz to teach us a new way of teaching our children and youth. The minutes report, it was a cold winter, but that the children's program was forever transformed. Then there was the minister who engaged in ministerial misconduct, and the break in trust created a turbulent decade after 2 congregational meetings had to be called in order to remove that person. The congregation renewed their covenant and deepened their understanding of what it means to be in right relationship, to live out your mission, and to hold each other accountable. There are other stories, too, of leading the denomination in social justice, of the addition here, as Helen shared, bringing the congregation back together as one. I used to sit in this sanctuary in that first year of the pandemic, almost unable to bear the silence of this place, the absences. And I would wonder and ask the floorboards what was the most faithful thing to do next. But I never wondered. Even when it was impossible to see a path forward in those early days, even when political rancor has threatened to tear this country apart, even in the midst of personal pain and loss, I have never wondered if Unitarian Universalism, and by consequence, Beacon, matter. Now, we aren't the easiest faith to explain. Have you tried in an elevator with 2 floors? There's no three-point creed. Even our first definitions, anti-Trinitarianism and universalism, are not exactly catchy or self-revealing. Dr. Tooley and I are teaching a course together called This We Believe, helping participants understand what it is we Unitarian Universalists believe. And at the same time, I'm co-facilitating a 9th grade coming of age program where our 9th graders at the end of the program will tell us what they believe as Unitarian Universalists. In each class, we reviewed the 8 central questions that religions try to answer. What is the ultimate source of the universe? How was the universe created? How is it mapped out? Does it have a purpose? How were we created? What's the point of human life? How should we live our lives? And I know you all have robust answers for every one of those, right? The truth is, these larger questions once animated me. And to some extent, they still do. But those aren't the questions I've been asking the floorboards or asking some of our most tenured members as I reached out to Erna Hoover this past week, who is celebrating 60 years of being a member here at Beacon. There's a group as well within our denomination as Unitarian Universalists who are trying to answer this question: what do we believe? Our congregation, along with well over 200 across the country, have added an 8th principle, holding us accountable to anti-racism and building beloved community. And so a process has begun within the denomination to look at the 7 original principles and the 8th. And just recently, they have released their draft that I would like to share with you. Here is the covenant that they propose, articulating what we Unitarian Universalists believe. Love is the enduring force that holds us together. As Unitarian Universalists in religious community, we covenant congregation to congregation and through our association to support and assist each other in engaging our ministries. We draw from our heritages of freedom and reason, hope and courage, building on the foundation of love. Love inspires, empowers the passion with which we embody our values. Inseparable from one another, these shared values are justice. We work to be diverse, multicultural, beloved communities where all people thrive. We covenant to dismantle racism and all forms of oppression within individuals and our institutions. We are accountable to each other for this work. Generosity. We cultivate a spirit of gratitude and hope. We covenant to freely share our faith, presence, and resources. Compassionate generosity connects us to one another in relationships of mutuality. Evolution. We adapt to the changing world. We covenant to collectively transform and grow spiritually and ethically. Evolution is fundamental to life and to our Unitarian Universalist heritages, never complete and never perfect. Pluralism. We celebrate that we are all sacred beings, diverse in culture, theology, and experience. We covenant to learn from one another and openly explore the depth and breadth of our many wisdoms. We embrace our differences and commonalities with love, curiosity, and respect. Equity. We declare that every person has the right to flourish with dignity and worthiness. We covenant to use our time, our wisdom, attention, and money to build and sustain a fully inclusive and accessible community of communities. And last, interdependence. We honor the sacred interdependent web of all existence. With humility, we understand our place in the web. We covenant to care for and respect the earth and all beings by fostering relationships of mutuality. We work to repair the bonds we have broken. Here ends their proposal. I rather like it. And I'm not getting paid to tell you that. And it's not just because it reads a little like our congregational covenant. Good job, Beacon. But even more deeply. Because at the end of the day, when I've been talking to the floorboards or reaching out to Erna Hoover or Marilyn or any number of you here and joining us virtually, I want a religion to help me figure out if I'm a good partner, a good parent, a good neighbor, a good community member. And when I'm not, I want a religion to help me be a better one. I want a religion that answers what to do with the aching in my soul when someone I love dies. I want a religion of the here and now that recognizes the real hells on earth and the possibility of paradise here, yet not dwells on the pontification of what's next. And I want a religion with a laser focus on the moral issues of our time, not the deep-sea politically charged exploration of my uterus or sexuality or gender identity, but a religion with the sense to get out of the places of privacy and identity and core of what it means to be human and get into the streets. To answer to the aching immoral death toll of poverty in this country, the devastation of the rainforest, the rising waters, the scorched earth, the crush of systemic racism, and the oppressions that octopus leg their way out from that system. I want a faith that tells me what to do with my own entanglement in systemic evil, not obsessed with swatting at Satan or some other supernatural force. I want a faith that gives me more than God needed an angel when a beloved dies, or complete suicide, or overdoses. I don't need a perfectly mapped out, ordered universe with cause and effect if it is devoid of compassion and mercy. I want a faith that reminds me that the pews may flip, the floorboards may have to be lifted, removed, altered entirely, and everything we think we may know might unravel, but that there is a living legacy. There is a love that is an enduring force that holds us together. And it is as much my birthright as it is yours. As much my work to renew as it is ours. So what's your you got to do with me? Everything. And may it stay so for a long, long, long time. Amen.
We are going to end this morning with our hymn, which is The Fire of Commitment. That is 1028. And you'll see that there will be some names on the screen as we complete our morning. And if you have been a member for 1 year and have not yet signed the book, please do feel free to go over to the side and sign that book. I want to say thank you to everyone who helped lead our worship today. Thank you, Reverend Robin. And the greeters, the welcome team, to Will and Brian, who are on the stream, to Adam in the chat, and particularly to John O'Neill for your beautiful musical language. And the awesome Beacon Choir, who brought so much energy and love, and we are very, very grateful. So please stand in body or spirit and join in singing 1028, The Fire of Commitment. From the light of days remembered burns a beacon bright and clear, guiding hands and hearts and spirits into faith and free from fear. When the fire of commitment sets the mind and soul From the stories of our living rings a song both brave and free, calling pilgrims still to witness to the life of liberty. When the fire of commitment sets our mind and soul ablaze, when our hunger and our passion meet to call us on our way, when we live with deep assurance of the flame that burns within, then our promise finds fulfillment and our future can begin. From the dreams of youthful vision comes a new prophetic voice, which demands a deeper justice built by our courageous choice. When the fire of commitment sets our mind and soul ablaze, when our hunger and our passion meet to call us on our way, when we live with deep assurance of the flame that burns within, then our promise finds fulfillment and our future can begin.
Invite you as we close now to take hands with one another or place hands on shoulders perhaps. And welcome anyone who is a first-time visitor with us or second time after service to get a tour right here up front from Chris, and also to join us upstairs in our library for a connecting session. From this fire of commitment across the ages, with the shortcomings and strengths of our spiritual ancestors all about us, with the present strength illuminated and the future glimmering as possibility incarnate,
We go forth now, held by this love, called by this love.
what will be our answer?
With confidence, with humility, and courage, we say yes to this love, yes to justice, yes to generosity, yes to evolution, yes to equity, yes to pluralism, and yes to interdependence, yes to the enduring, liberating love.
Yes, yes, beloved, ashe and amen. The fire of commitment goes with you now.